Hey there, it is a very snowy day outside today here in Minnesota, so I have my nice cup of coffee. I hope you're doing well, and it's almost the darkest day of the year, which I'm very excited to have the day start getting longer and longer. I wanted to make a quick video today talking a bit about how I plan out my work for my games and how I progress forward and maybe just keep track of ideas and things like that, because ultimately speaking, if you're a solo developer, you don't have a full team of project managers. That is one of the hats you get to wear. I'd like to say this is my project management hat, but it's just a hat. I don't actually have names for my hats, but one of the hats you get to wear is a project manager, and you get to min-max it for yourself. And over the years, I've tried a bunch of different tools. The program you're seeing in front of you is Notion. I'm not sponsored by them. I did ask, not sponsored by them. I like it because you can do internet backup. So if I'm ever on my phone and have a random idea, I can quickly write it down. And that's probably my number one tip for you. If you have an idea, write it down somewhere. Oftentimes my brain gets fixated. Maybe I'm talking about some rarity design in my head. I'm thinking about it and I get fixated on thinking about it because then I have a good idea. I'm out for a walk. I'm on a long car ride. I have a good idea. And my number one planning tip for myself is to just simply write it down. Put it down somewhere. You'll likely work through it and figure out if it's a dumb thing or a smart thing. And more than anything, it frees my brain up to then think about other stuff because now I'm not worried about it. My brain will fixate on something because it's like, ooh, that's a really good idea. Let me think about it. Let me make sure I think about this cool new tiered rarity system I'm working on, which is basically just a Path of Exile system. Let me think about that and fixate on it. So writing it down frees me up to do that. And that's kind of the biggest tip I'm going to give you. I've done things with Notion where you have these like Kanban boards and stories, and ultimately speaking, what ends up happening for me is I'll create some tickets. I'll do the act of organizing them, which is a valuable thing. Sitting down and organizing your thoughts and coming to a natural conclusion of what do I do next. Creating stories and categorizing them and giving them this one's UI, this one's systematic, this one's data driven. That is a helpful tool. I've found from then the actual doing the work and checking it off the box, like, boom, I got it done. Eventually, my story management system just gets thrown out the door. I think stories and Jira and Kanban boards and stuff like that can be very helpful tools for people communicating in larger teams, but I'm a solo developer, and so as such, I don't need to do, frankly, bullshit garbage like that. And so I'm not going to do it. So my main way of doing it is my main way of planning out any of my work is realistically having a to-do list. A simple document in here with a bunch of lists, and then I will slowly add stuff to lists. I've been trying to do some categories of various systems and to-dos. I even came up with a timeline to look through some of the kind of bigger chunk patches I want to do. And then as I've been thinking about some of those patches and ideas, I'll fill out some of the thoughts in them. And then simply put, as I get something done, I will cross it off or delete it. And that is my fun of getting it done. And then I'll have other notes and maybe some scope creep ideas in there and things like that. But largely speaking, I'm just creating documents full of my thoughts. And by doing that, I'm organizing them. And by doing that, I am kind of planning out what I want to do next. What is the next big thing? Because the other big piece of all of this is I'm constantly putting my ideas up on Steam. Steam Hexagod. I'm constantly putting my game up on Steam, not Hexagod, for you all to play. And by having a small community of people who is willing to try out my game Hexagod and play it, I'm able to get really quick and iterative feedback so that I can understand if something's not working. I can go back to this list and say, okay, well, I was planning this week to do, maybe I was planning on doing some rotating shop, but then I get feedback that says, hey, this doesn't feel good. And oftentimes feedback comes in the form of something that might not be directly helpful, but if you get enough pieces of feedback, you can start seeing some through lines of information that is helpful. So combining with just kind of having a nice long list of things to to think through and work through, and that feedback can keep you nimble on your feet and be actually truly agile. You don't have to do a Scrum methodology or have a Jira board or Kanban board. You can, quite frankly, simply just have a big to-do list, or like I like to do, have a big old board, a whiteboard that has, simply put, a really quick and dirty way to get the objectives for the next day. I usually end every day by erasing this and rewriting my objectives for the next day, which helps me to relax and not worry so much about forgetting what I want to do when I come down and sit down to do game development the next day. I've been Aarimous. Thank you so much for watching. If it is cold where you live, like it is with me, have that nice cup of coffee today and stick with it. I've been Aarimous. I'll see you later. Bye-bye.